I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Cumberland Fire District Fire Committee for Tuesday, July 26th to order at 7:17. If we could stand for a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance. We have a couple of new faces in the crowd tonight, so I'll just, as I do occasionally, we stand for a moment of silence for all the first responders who gave their life in the, while doing their jobs. And then we also stand in a moment of silence for any departed friends of the Cumberland Fire District. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Solicitor is on vacation. Commissioner Parent got called into work. And Finance Director Coalition had an incident this afternoon which is keeping her from attending tonight. Next order of business is general announcements. I have a letter here. Oops. Maria came to us a couple months ago about an incident where she was billed incorrectly for an automobile accident. She had issues with how it was billed and the errors in the billing. She was unhappy with the way the meeting was put on the minutes, so she's asked to have this letter read into the minutes. We could just file this with the minutes itself, but I will actually read it as she is asking for that. And I'm having an issue here. Hang on a second. Committee members, this is sent to all the committee members. I request that this letter be read at the next Cumberland Fire Department meeting on June 28th, 2016. On March 22nd, 2016, I appeared in front of the committee to report that the Cumberland Fire Department is charging Cumberland taxpayers automobile insurance $600 for cleanup when they're involved in an automobile accident in the town of Cumberland. I was involved in a very minor accident with no property damage, no gasoline or other fluid leaks. I also advise that the Cumberland Fire Department reports have had a lot of she wrote reports, but it's about her one report, have a lot of contradicting information. And she spells out on the motor vehicle MVA, I assume is motor vehicle accident billing report states, remove driver number 1 to stretcher, speedy dry and clean street, assist tow operator, hazmat removal, hazardous condition. And the second report states, responded to an MVA, assisted CPD with scene safety, no PT, no vehicle issues, i.e. fluid spills or vehicle damage, 2 vehicles at the scene under their own power. Both Cumberland Fire Department reports were completed by the same person. I was very satisfied with the discussion that took place on March 22nd. I felt that the committee members really listened until I read the minutes for the meeting. As I stated in the meeting on March 22nd, as a Cumberland town resident, I would like to see details of accidents captured more accurately. Taxpayers' insurance companies should not be billed unnecessarily as it ultimately affects the premiums we pay, and I would hate for anyone to accuse Cumberland Fire District of fraudulent billing, when it merely appears that a little more attention needs to be paid when filling reports and determining that the appropriate billing. I also asked you, the committee, to visit the cleanup fee and exempt all Cumberland residents of cleanup fees unless there is actual cleanup, property damage, or gasoline or other automobiles spilled. My computer froze up. Hold on a second. I also stated that I hoped going forward the Cumberland Fire Department would have better, more honest communications with the taxpayers of the town of Cumberland. It looks like this was far too much to ask for. Mr. Lemoy knew that the video was not working that day. When I was waiting for the meeting to begin, I heard Mr. Lemoy ask a few of the gentlemen in the room if they had a certain wire that was needed, but nobody had it. Therefore, all that is available for the March 22nd meeting are minutes, which are not accurate. Information was omitted or not correct. I realize that meeting minutes are not supposed to be word for word, but should contain highlights of what was discussed and accurate information be included. The minutes reflect that Commissioner Roulette stated that she needed more information and the insurance payments from Cumberland residents should be accepted. Copies of the reports from Cumberland Police Department and 2 reports from the Cumberland Fire Department were given to her and all committee members that night. What Commissioner Roulette said is that she had been involved in an accident and hit a pole and had to pay for the pole. It is correct that Chief Finley stated that the 2 reports were done by 2 different people. However, I corrected him, stating that both reports were completed by the same person. This is not reflected in the minutes. I do not understand how the committee members approved and accepted these minutes when most of the information was not correct or omitted. I request this letter to be in the minutes of March 22nd and June 28th. Due to personal reasons, I was not able to be present at the meeting on the 28th. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Chief Finley. Has all issues connected with this letter been addressed?
Yes, they have. All 4 shifts have been given an intricate tutoring lesson on report writing, the necessity for following correct details. I won't say there were lacks in the past, but there might have been some shortcuts that were taken that are not being approved of anymore. We have myself, Deputy Feather, or Deputy McCabe following up and checking each report before it's allowed to be filed to the management system before corrections can be made. The Dawson Group has been advised that no Cumberland resident will be sent a bill if the insurance company refuses to pay, and to make sure of that, as Ms. Smith files the bills, she puts a statement right on the bill that this would be insurance payment only. And since that time we haven't had any issues. I've received 2 other issues, but it was concerning rescue completely. It had nothing to do with the fire side of it. It wasn't even, it was a regular house patient call. It wasn't a motor vehicle accident. Those were turned over to Director Thompson for handling.
Okay, has the insurance company once and for all been put on notice about the proper billing? I know Kerry's been doing that, but I mean, it still falls under there. I mean, she could put all the notes she wants on a bill, not to charge Cumberland residents, but is there something in place within the billing company?
Yes, there has been an email sent to the agent that handles our claims directly, and I personally met with Kim Dawson, the owner of the agency, at their location, explained to her what our issue was. She fully understood and verbally instructed a note to be put in our file so that a flag would come up on the Cumberland residents, Cumberland addresses on the accident billing.
Thank you.
And this is not out of the norm. She does it for a multitude of communities in Rhode Island. It just slipped, programming error on their part that slipped by them, and unfortunately it was brought to the magnitude that it was brought to before we caught it.
Thank you. The other issue that I to just point out is that, yes, the minutes, all our minutes meet the Open Meetings Act requirements. She's correct when she states they don't have to be verbatim. She's unhappy with the amount of information placed in the minutes. Hence, we read her letter into the minutes, and the actual letter itself will be part of the minutes, so it'll be clear for her. It's similar to our policy here on the board. If someone wants minutes changed or added, they just need simply to put something in writing and hand it in, and we will continue with our goal of transparency and have those minutes changed and or information added to that. Any other general announcements?
Chairperson.
Commissioner Ouellette.
Thank you. I want to preface this by saying to Mr. Scullin, this is not an attack on you. So, after reading Marcia Green's article on the 20th, titled Officials Fire Board Election Called Flat Out Embarrassment, I have to concur. And I think that as the fire committee, we need to really take a look at this problem and become part of the solution. We are sitting back and allowing other people to solve this or try to solve it or not solve it at all. I think it's ridiculous that people are on to, again, no offense, Mr. Scullin, I think it's ridiculous that we have someone on the board who's on 2 committees. I think it's ridiculous that we have a number of people who are running for 2 committees because you cannot serve 2 masters. I am disappointed that this is going on, not only as a member of the fire committee, but as a member of the town of Cumberland. I would suggest or request that perhaps we assign a subcommittee of the fire committee or during next month's meeting address this problem. I know there's nothing we can do about it for this voting season, but certainly we've got 2 years to make some changes or to assist in making changes or to have some kind of influence in making changes in the election laws regarding the fire committee. So I don't know where we go for this, but I think we as a fire committee need to look at it and be a part of the solution. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Scullin.
Yes, I have a couple of agenda items I'd like on the August agenda. One is we were supposed to receive a hard copy of the Dawson report of what all the calls, their reports and what we've received out of the Dawson.
I'm sorry, start all over again.
We're supposed, back in early June, we received an email that we're going to get a hard copy of the Dawson report.
The Dawson report? I don't know what a Dawson report is.
It's a third-party billing company.
Oh.
Yeah. We're supposed to get a hard copy of all the incidents and how much we've collected to date.
That was supplied.
Huh?
That was supplied.
We're supposed to get a hard copy of it.
It was in the meeting packet. Was it not?
I don't remember.
Chief, didn't you send out a report that was in the meeting packets?
I thought I did.
That's fine. We will put it on the agenda meeting because if it's there, well, it'll be on the agenda. There's no problem. If it's there, we'll just report that it was there, and if it's not there, we will report whatever was given. And if it's not enough, then we'll get that.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Item 2 on the agenda, actually, what agreement we have on the reserve ladder truck that was purchased from Central Falls and how that deal worked out. You know, we're supposed to have a written agreement in place. I don't know if we have that yet.
Yes.
Or can we have that on the agenda for next month?
Chief, was that presented? Did we approve that payment? Did you reported on that process, right?
Yes, we approved it.
Part of the resolution was the agreement included?
Yes.
No, we're waiting.
No, not part of the resolution, no.
Okay, so do you have that agreement now?
We have the resolution, we have the agreement done now.
Okay, could you just email that to the full committee? Would that be good enough? And if you don't like what you see, we can put it on the agenda. We don't need to have an agenda item to get information from the chief. Chief, you can email that to us, right?
Right.
Well, what I'm looking at, if that's a legal document, the board should approve it. Because that was the situation, we're waiting for the solicitor from Central Falls to draw up the document. And if it's a legal document binding the fire district to certain conditions, it should be approved by the board.
I run that by a solicitor. I'm not sure that every document he signs we don't approve. I don't know what's determined a legal document that needs board approval. He just signed a contract with Cox Communications. We didn't approve that. We approved the process, but we didn't actually approve the contract. So I'll ask the solicitor, if she feels we should approve it, we can approve it. I mean, it's no big deal. Absolutely. But in the meantime, Chief, get that out to us so we can see that, okay?
Okay, the third item, if we could have, when we get the financial report for next month, if we're gonna, did we get the final number on Blue Cross yet?
Okay, again, I don't understand. What does that mean, final number?
The cost of Blue Cross. So at the last meeting, when we approved the contract, the number was not finalized yet. It was a guesstimate. Do we have a final number?
Again, I wish the finance director was here
No,
tonight.
I'm just, so we can have it ready for next month. That's why I'm doing this.
Again, I thought that it went out already. We've given the bills out several times to Ms. Kuziani, so I'm assuming that they were there. So if not, whatever it is, I will get it for you this week. Chief, can you make a note that if Diane comes into work Monday, and that's not known, considering what happened to her today, if she comes in Monday, could you have her email that to us, please? And then we'll also put that on the agenda for next month.
Just for the record, just to satisfy you, this was a 4% increase over last year.
No, all right, the number we looked at it when we were ratifying the contract was based on a 10% increase.
Correct. And it came in at 4.
So we'll get those during the month, Jim. If you don't like what you get, we can put them on the agenda, but if we don't need to have an agenda item, we don't need to. I'll leave that up to you. Is that all you got?
Just one other one, just to follow up on Commissioner Roulette. It may be that she doesn't like the way the system is run, but the Cumberland Fire District is being treated as every other fire district in the state. And we're a fire district. It's plain and simple. We're not being treated, to do anything different would be a disservice to the voters of Cumberland. Because every other fire district in the state, they can serve the fire district, they can serve the town. So we're not any different, and I don't know why people think we should be. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. I will, yeah, I'm going to save that. Thank you. Is that it? Jim? Ms. Kuziani?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Talking about the medical coverage and the Delta dental coverage, just so I understand, are you going to send us what I call the itemized bill, for lack of clarification, the total cost per month of what they billed, because the first bill would have come in for July, I believe. Am I correct, Mr. Champagne?
The first bill is not going to be an accurate bill because it overlaps. So it's the actual bill in August that we'll see the real new rates, because the bill came out late. So there's an adjustment there. So the true bill will be in August.
We can send out what we pay for family, for employee plus spouse, and employee plus children. That's a fact. We have that, and we can send that out.
Well, good. And then, if I understand the both of you, you could send this bill, the last bill that we've received, plus when the new bill comes out to the committee members when you receive it. Would that be acceptable?
Well, the only thing you really need is the actual bill for the actual rates. You want the new rates. The new rates is the finance director can give you that what a family plan, husband and wife is per person, per plan. How many family plans do we have? X number of dollars per plan. How many parent and child plans that we have, and then complete family plans. And they'll say 5 times 5, $1,500 a piece, times 4, so and so, and you just have to add them up.
Well, rather than adding them up, because I know you get the report in this manner of fashion, I again ask for the bill that comes out to itemize by each individual what the cost is for each individual, whether they're on the single plan, the family plan. This is what was provided to me before, so I assume it's available for this last month, and plus the new month for both Delta Dental and the medical coverage by individual, please.
We'll provide it with you, Phil. My only question will be to the solicitor, is that because the information is going out, and it's going to be out there in the public circle somewhere, is your office, people walking in and out of your office, is that do you get the employee's membership number? Membership numbers at the Blue Cross should not be public information, because somebody can pick up a piece of paper that's sitting on your desk that has a membership number on it, and they can go and put a claim against it. That's my only concern, and that's what I will check with Ms. Morris on.
I can assure you, Mr. Champagne, that any information I get of this nature is kept in the most safeguarded position. No one sees it in my office other than me or my secretary, who produces it for me.
Right. On the other hand, you also have documents sitting in your car while you're in Honeydew and in different places, and those documents are sitting in your car. There is an issue. There is an issue, security-wise, with personal information going out as to membership numbers.
I don't want to drag this on, Mr. Champagne, but first of all, it comes in my office, it stays in my office. If it's in my car, it's with me personally. My car is always locked. That information doesn't get out
That's right.
to anybody.
Fine, but we'll let the solicitor make the decision.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, please.
Sure.
I sent an email in regards to Maria Lopes' letter, and I had suggested that rather than put it, yes, you read it, and I appreciate that, and I'm sure she does, but under rather general announcement, specifically mention the receipt of Maria Lopes' letter. I think that would have been the better way of presenting it. So on the Cumberland Fire District agenda, there's no notice of it.
Mr. Cucciani, what is your ultimate goal with that comment?
What is my ultimate goal with what?
That comment. Could you explain? Let me finish. I have no idea what you're telling me or saying, or what the issue is, or what your goal is on making that comment. What is the goal of that comment? The letter was read into the record. It's on last month's meeting, videotape, saying it was here. I watched the video. I said I received it. I said I would watch it to read it tonight. I read it tonight. Would you like me to write it in blood? What do you need, Mr. Cucciani?
Mr. Lemoyne, please don't do that. I'm just making the comment.
For what reason? There is no reason or nothing. There's no goal. You can't even state your goal to saying this statement.
The goal was for clarity.
What clarity? It's on the videotape.
It's not on the agenda. That's the whole point. It's
Mr. Cucciani, I apologize for not putting it on the agenda. It's been stated up one side, down the other. I don't know, Mr. Cucciani. If you want to beat me up for that, consider me beat up. You got any other comments, Mr. Cucciani?
I'm not doing that to beat you up.
You got any other comments, Mr. Cucciani?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
I have one other request that I had put on the agenda. I'm going to reserve comment on that at this time.
I don't understand the comment, Mr. Cucciani.
I just made a statement.
Well, state it again, because I don't understand it.
I made a request for one other item to be put on the agenda.
Of who? Who did you make that request to?
To both you and the clerk.
Me and the clerk.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're going to say in public that you made a request, but you're not going to comment on it.
I reserve the right to comment on it at this time.
Okay. Nothing else, Mr. Cucciani?
Nothing else under general announcements.
Okay, just note, once we leave general announcements, this so-called request is not coming up again because it's not on the agenda. Do you want to discuss it now in the general announcements, or do you want to wait till next month?
That's a new rule.
It's not a new rule. It's not on the agenda. We're not discussing it.
I'm doing it under general announcement. I'm reserving the rights to revisit that later on.
No, Ms. Cucciani, we're not doing this game. You have a comment to make on something that either did or didn't happen. It may have happened, it may not have happened. You're not going to hold the general announcements section open. We have a lot of work to do tonight. It's not coming up again. General announcements will be closed. We're going to move on. Do you want to discuss it now or not?
Well, under general announcements, if you phrase it that way, which I disagree with, I had requested of you information on that document that you had prepared. and presented to the board on several occasions for the tax rates.
Right. So,
You declined to give me the information of how you arrived at the various average numbers for the fire districts, I think beginning in the year 2007.
Very
and
good.
I made the request to you to please tell me what are the numbers for the 4 fire district. You said you would not do so.
okay. Is that all, Ms. Kuziani? Can I now answer?
Please.
Thank you. So you sent me an email about a document that I published a year and a half ago. It was during the budget session of 2015-16. It was put together under the chairman's report. It was my personal report that I took information from different parts of the districts, and I put together a report and presented it under my report. I told you that was my personal work. Whether I still have it or not is not an issue, but it's my personal work. I might not have it anymore. I still have the chart. Its chart's been published. I told you that. You continually to ask me for that work, so the answer stayed the same. I then, at that point, said, talk to the solicitor, which you don't want to do for some reason in this matter. Ask the solicitor if we are under obligation to give you that, and if she says yes, I will start digging through my history to see if I can't find it. But since it's not fire district information, or wasn't coordinated by the fire district, it's my own personal work. And I don't believe I should have to spend time researching my 2 laptops that I use to try to find that work. That's a year and a half old. You had no issue with it a year and a half ago. You had no issue when we presented again last year, this year, 6 months ago at the budget hearings. So, I'm going to leave it at that. I didn't refuse the information. I told you that it's my personal research. I presented it under the chairman's report. It's not documents, or it's not a report that is published by the district. So it's my belief, it's my personal work. You didn't like the answer. You keep asking the same question, so I said, talk to the solicitor. You keep asking me for it, and I keep telling you, talk to the solicitor. For some reason, you don't want to. Put an official request in, like you should, under the Open Records Act, and let it go where it may. I have no problem with that. Okay?
Well, I understand what you're saying.
Of course you do. But you're not going to agree with it.
I'm sorry.
But you're not going to agree with it.
We have a difference of opinion.
Right.
You came up with numbers. I came up with different numbers that were substantially different than your numbers, which changes the whole thought process of this document, which you presented to the board on 2 different occasions. The average numbers that you have down there for the 4 fire district with the numbers that I have are substantially lower. These are averages taken over a year basis, whether it's 2011, 12, 13, or 14. And the averages are substantially lower, which leads to the conclusions that you made in this document, inaccurate and wrong.
So, because I present a document and you do the work and you don't come with the same numbers, my document's wrong. I know I presented that document to the Department of Revenue, to the Office of the Auditor General, to the public twice, and this is the first I'm hearing of a potential opinion that you don't agree with it. Well, Ms. Kuziani, because you don't agree with it, doesn't make it wrong. Why don't you give me your numbers, and I'll try to work out and see where your error is. Because as far as I'm concerned, that chart was looked at many times by CPAs, by the Department of Revenue, everybody in the world, and nobody has a problem with it. So if you want to give me your numbers, I'll show you where you're wrong. Because I can't say because you don't agree with mine, my chart's wrong, and neither can you.
Well, see, the difference between you and I, Mr. Lamoy, is that I point out to you that you just said that these were accepted. Well, they're accepted by the state of Rhode Island, if that's your statement, because they accept your representations that these are accurate numbers.
Okay.
But without the background information as to what those numbers are to come up with an average rate, like as an example, in your report of 2011 of $2.06, it doesn't fly unless you see what the numbers are that support that average.
Mr. Cusiani, if you feel that I'm wrong, produce your own chart, put it on the agenda and publish it, okay?
You still won't give me your numbers unless you have them.
Mr. Cusiani, I'm not searching. It's a year and a half ago. It's a year and a half ago, Mr. Cusiani. It's unreasonable that you want me to take personal documents, personal research, from a year and a half ago and try to find it. If you
presented it a second time.
It used the same numbers, Mr. Kutsky. I didn't change the historical numbers. I changed the going forward because we dropped the tax rate, so it changed the going forward number on projections. It didn't change the historical numbers.
I'm not talking about changing the tax rate. I'm talking about what you presented. There's a difference.
You don't get it.
No.
I didn't change the historical data, so I didn't need to do the research again. The research I did is a year and a half old. I'm not going to look for it unless the solicitor tells me I have to legally, and I don't think I have to because I've checked. So I'll wait for our solicitor to tell us officially. Any other comments, Mr. Cusiani?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Under old business, we have a resolution from last month's meeting, 2016-32. It's a cost sharing on the training trailer, a grant match, which was presented by Deputy Chief Anderson. What's that?
We didn't do the consent agenda.
Very good, thank you. Consent agenda, approval of the minutes from June 28th, 2016. Thank you, Clerk.
Make a motion. Second.
First, Commissioner Champagne makes a motion to approve. Commissioner Mata seconds that approval, seconds the motion to approve. Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? It's over, Mr. Cusiani. You do that every time I do this. You wait till the last second. Any comments, and then you wait, and then I say, fast for vote, and you interrupt me. It's too late. I asked already. It's too late. I asked already, Mr. Cusiani. Mr. Cusiani, keep up with us. Approve it. All those in favor? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 5-2. Big surprise.
Not 5.
4-2.
4-2.
4-2. 4-2. Next, old business. We had a resolution presented last month by Deputy Chief Anderson, who did a great job in presenting it and answering all our questions. Unfortunately, when the clerk went back for the minutes, there was never a motion to approve or second, though it passed 7-0. So if I could have a motion officially to approve that for the record. Motion by Commissioner Roulette, seconded by Commissioner Champagne. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Madam Clerk, could you also reference in there that last month Commissioner Parent did vote in the affirmative? New business, finance report. We will have a full report of the 2015-16 finances in the August meeting, with the exception of maybe one or two other small items. It's going to take up most of the meeting, and we'll go on from there.
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask, I'm disappointed that the finance report, even though the finance director is not here, at least the numbers being presented tonight, I'm sure they're in the computer, but I would ask that be part of that project would be the income and expenses separately for the last month of June, I should say for June of 2015.
Could you please put that in writing and specifically tell me what you want, because I don't understand what you're asking for. I'm not a finance person.
Well,
just put it in writing and we'll get it. Email it to myself or the solicitor, or email to the solicitor. I have no more communications with you. Just email it to the solicitor, tell her what you want, and we'll see if we can get it.
Let me email it to you.
No, Mrs. Cusiani, I have no desire to email with you or communicate with you, because all you do is repeat yourself, and you disagree when I tell you something, you keep coming back to it, and it doesn't make sense to me anymore, Ms. Cusiani.
I'm trying to explain to you.
Talk to the solicitor, and then put in an email what you want, and she will deal with it. Anything else, Mr. Cusiani?
Trying to explain to you what it is.
I won't understand it, Mr. Cusiani. I'm not the finance director. Put in writing what you want, give it to the solicitor, she will deal with it. Do you have any other comments, Mr. Cusiani?
No.
Thank you. The report of the August of the finances, though Ms. Cusiani is disappointed, was extremely difficult this year because we are changing the line items on the actual budget itself. The first budget we did was somewhat aligned with as much we could with the old budgets, having many items separated that we're now putting together into single line items. We're adding different line items that were never budgeted. For example, we had, extreme amount of money paid for tax collection fees, but there was never a budget on the old districts, so we didn't have it on ours, so we need that. So there are several changes. There was new computer software that had to be upgraded. We had to have the consultant come in and do that. So that made the finance department, who was a very busy finance department, with the new tax collection process happening, with everything that's happening. So I am not disappointed at all that it's not here this month. I'm actually glad that they put the work into it at the beginning, rather than forcing out a report that might or might not be accurate or have errors. So I'm very confident in our finance department. They will have an accurate and good report for August meeting. The full meeting pretty much so is going to be dedicated to that. It's probably maybe another 2 weeks before it's done, so we're going to have extra amount of time to read it, and I'm sure that we'll be satisfied with the results, and we'll go on from there. Commissioner Scullin.
Is the auditor's report going to be part of this package?
No, the auditor's report, it can't.
Well, we haven't seen the auditor's report again.
Right, because the auditor's report is not done in a month. I know you're not used to that, but when you're in the town, you don't get your audit report till January. So
I'm talking the one that they produced already, that we haven't seen again, when they were here in January.
What do you want to see it again for? We saw it.
We have not reviewed it.
I don't know what you're looking at him talking to me. What are you talking about? We passed it out, we approved it.
No, we didn't. They left because they only handed out that the same night. The last I heard about it was a few months ago, and they said the Department of Revenue was still looking at it.
Bring me send me an email what you're talking about, where you heard this, where you read it, because I don't recollect that at all. We approved the last audit.
Well, I think you ought to look up the records.
You look up the records. I'm saying it's fine. If you're saying we didn't approve it, go look at the records. They're online. Do a little homework and see if we approved or not. Go back to the month we had the audit in the report, and see if it's in the minutes or not. If it's not, I'll be glad to fix it. I have no problem. I'm not going to research your supposed idea that we didn't approve them when we did.
The night the auditors were here, did we ask questions of the auditors?
Mr. Scullin, that was back in January. Look up the minutes. They're online. They're very well they're very well in order.
Well, they're not documented, that's for sure.
They are documented and they're in order. So if you have an issue with them, research it, print them out, show me where they're not in order, and then we'll fix them.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Cusiani.
If I would remind us in regards to that auditor's report, when the people from the CPA firm were here and discussed the report, the full report was not available to us. It was missing several pages. We subsequently, after that discussion, got more information.
You got it?
No, I said we got more information, but the issue was that the auditor was supposed to come back once we had the full a full report in hand, and it wasn't done. They didn't come back.
Then go to the minutes, Ms. Cusiani, see where that was said, show us what happened, and we'll fix it. Unless you provide the documents of the minutes showing us where we were going to do that, then we will do that. But as far as I'm concerned, in my mind, we approved them. We're now in July. It's back in January. I don't know why it's not being brought up in February, March, April, May, or June, but that's fine. If you feel it's inaccurate, research the minutes. They're on our website, and then you can print them out and bring them in, and we'll fix it. We have no problem doing that. Any other comments? Very good. Resolution FCR 2016-34, authorize the payments to R&D Road Service. Chief, rather than me reading the resolution, could you come up and give us a review of that resolution, please? And if you don't mind me, Chief, I don't want to hold the meeting up. I've read this. I understand it. I'm going to head out to just take a quick break outside.
The Engine 1, which is a 2004 Pierce, developed a steering box leak The last time I had this done on engine 4, we had Minuteman do it because we didn't know any better, and it was about $6,000 to do the steering box. S&D affirmed that they could do it with the personnel that they have on hand. They have a resource that is not available to me, using another company out of Connecticut to get the parts. While they were looking at the steering box, they also discovered the oil pan was porous. What happened, the current engine 1 was assigned to station 2. The state, when they come out of 116, they'll come into station 2 and they'll leave their spreader running, so they dump an enormous amount of salt throughout the winter on the apron. Well, they think they're doing us a favor. They actually did us a hindrance, because it rotted the oil pan out along with the dipstick tube. And again, the truck was, it's 12 years old. The front torsion bars were sagging, so it had thrown it out of alignment. So all of this was done in a 1-week period at a total cost of $6,292, which he kept me apprised as he was going, where the expenses were. The truck has a valuable life left to us. I thought it was a necessary expense, and I'm asking that it be approved.
Pleasure of the board. Motion by Commissioner Champagne. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioners Lett and Motter. Any comments, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you, Chief. Next item on the agenda.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Ms.
Sorry. We are in fiscal 17 now.
Correct.
Should our resolutions be noted that we are in FY 17 instead of 2016?
Thank you, Commissioner. Any objection from the committee to fix the two? No, I'm sorry, Commissioner. That's not done by fiscal. That's done by calendar.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item C, concerning Mr. Kutsiani's accusation that he has requested changes made to the minutes, but they have not been made. See timestamp 327 on the 6/28 meeting. Mr. Kutsiani provided evidence that he had evidence, but not with him at the June 20th meeting. See timestamp 330 on 6/20. So, Mr. Kutsiani, the ball's in your court.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I reviewed the request and the discussion that we had in regards to this matter, and I bring these items to your attention. I'm making some comments on some of the minutes.
Ms. Kutsiani, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Could you please state the time or the date that you made a request, and then the issue that you had, clearly, without other comments, because you clearly said you asked for things to be fixed and they weren't. What I would like to see is evidence of that accusation. Do you have the date and the issue that you had asked to be fixed?
Well, yes, I do.
Okay, can I have the first one, please?
I will respond to the question, please.
Mr. Kutsiani, do you...
No,
Mr.
I
Kutsiani,
will respond to
Mr.
the question.
Kutsiani, listen to me. This is our meeting, it's not your meeting. You made an accusation of this committee and our clerk that you have asked for information to be fixed and it wasn't. That means you have specific dates, times, and issues. I'm not going to listen, and I'm not going to put this committee through a long diatribe of words and sentences that have nothing to do with the accusations. It should be very simple. You should be able to pull out of your notes the date, the time, and the issue, and how you asked for it to be fixed. And then we can go check the minutes to see if it was actually fixed or not. Or we can see if it was actually presented. That's how this is going to be handled. After you present those, if you want to go into some explanation or comments on them, that'd be more than fine with me. But the comments are not coming first, because we want to see your proof that you said you had, that we did not make changes to the minutes as you requested. Do you have the dates, times, and issues, Mr. Kutsiani?
I'm going to respond to your question in my manner of fashion.
Then we're going to move on, Mr. Kutsiani, because you don't have them.
Yes, I do.
You don't. Then present them for the committee. Respect this committee, and tell them how we did a disservice to you. Because we voted on all the minutes, and we approved them. And they need to know if there was requested changes made, but not done. And so don't I want to know, so we can fix any potential problem. But I'm not going to sit here and have you go on and on and on, as you always do, and not get to the point. It's very simple. Present the issue like you would, and you know you can, and then if you want to make comments, that's fine.
I made requests for changes in two manners and fashion.
Okay.
I'm going to respond to your question.
But you're not going to do it.
Yes, I am.
You're not going to give us the issues, because there are none.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
What? Bear with me. Bear with me. Oh.
Bear with you. You made an accusation to this committee. You should very well easily say, here, on June 20th, I made this request, it wasn't done. It was about this issue. On May 20th, I made this request, it wasn't done. This is the issue. You can't. You're going to go on and on and on about something else. Go ahead, Ms. Kutsiani.
Thank you. Do I have the floor now?
Sure.
Thank you. I made requests certainly during the open meetings. You cannot disregard those requests.
Don't know what request you're talking about.
I have the floor at this point in time.
I don't know what request you're talking about, but continue.
Yeah, okay.
But continue.
Multiple times, almost with every single minute presentation. Talking about March 1, 2016. I made a specific request to you in regards to those minutes.
March what?
The meetings of March 1, 2016.
March 1, 2016. Let me get to those minutes, please. March 1, 2016. March 1, 2016. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Kutsiani.
I sent to you and to the clerk a specific request into that March 1 meeting. I made a request for certain changes. On page 2, they were made.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Page 2. The requests I made were changed in the minutes that were presented here at the meeting. Do you agree?
I don't know, Mr. Kutsiani. I'm trying to get to the minutes. This is why I wanted the date and specifics, so I could be along with you. So what is the issue on page 2?
Page 2.
Yep. Got it.
Did I make a request for changes?
Mr. Request for the change, that this be inserted rather than what is on lines 48 and 49. And then I wanted to say, I request specifically several items on the finance report to include OT, medical insurance, amounts, etc. That's what you asked to be put in, and that's what was put in.
And I indicate these items indicate the district would be over budget. You did not include.
Can you show me the document that you said that in? Because I copied and pasted what you sent to me.
April 12th.
I won't have that on email here, so I will have to look at it. So April 12th, you sent me what, an email?
Yes, I did.
Do you have it with you, so I can see it?
I only have one copy.
Could I look at it then? I'll get right back to you. This is not an email, Ms. Kutsiani. This is
It was an attachment to an email.
It's
an attachment to an email on April 12th.
Do you have the email you sent to me? Do you have the email?
No, I don't.
Okay. Say the second one.
I need it back, please.
You indicated you voted negative. That was changed.
I need it back, please.
I'm just looking over it quickly so I can save time here. So you asked for the change. The chairman reviewed that one commissioner, Mrs. Cullen, had presented a resolution. So I had said 2 commissioners, so I changed it to 1 with supporting testimony by Mr. Cucciani. That's exactly what... You did not participate in drafting the, presenting the resolution. You gave testimony as per your words.
No,
So, yeah,
no.
well, you did.
Give it back to me for a minute, please.
No, I'm not. No, I'm going to continue looking here.
You know, those are... Mr.
Mr.
Lemoy,
Mr.
that is fine.
Cucciani.
If I can have that back, please, so I can...
No, because I'm about to close this one.
Please.
You really going to step up, Mr. Cucciani?
I'm going to step
You're a real professional.
very professional as you are. I'm not going to make comments on my comments
Okay.
until I've had a chance to present them, please. I sent this email to you. It was an attachment to an email in regards to these minutes. I indicate to you on page 2 the changes that I requested. You did not include all of the requested changes.
It's according to your notes that I have not seen.
Well, that's what's in the email.
Well, it's
That's
my
what's in the
opinion.
attachment.
It's my opinion, so you must be wrong.
Okay, you have your opinion, I'm going to have my opinion.
Okay.
On page 2,
Can I just interject something here? This is, I'm sorry, but this is a waste of our time. Unless we have all of the documents in front of us too. My expectation was that you would have come prepared with documents that support your concerns, but a document for all of us. Because all that's going to happen right now is that you and the chairperson are just going to go back and forth. I find this an absolute waste of my time. So my suggestion is we table this till next month, and Commissioner, please come with documents for all of us to see so that we can see what you're talking about.
Mr. Ouellette, is that a motion?
That is a motion.
There's a motion to table, second by Commissioner Motters and Champagne. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-2. Next item on the agenda. Mr. Cucciani's request to review how minutes are being managed. See timestamp 356 in the 628 meeting video. Mr. Cucciani, the floor is yours.
thank you. I asked if the clerk would please indicate to us how the minutes are prepared.
Cucciani, you have asked that question of the clerk before. It's the same process as it is then, it is now.
Could I have her?
Mr. Cucciani, no, you're not going to interrogate the clerk. She's not going to be subject to you. I'll take that, please. She writes the minutes on her notes. Now that we have videos, she goes through them. She puts together minutes that, first of all, meet the Open Meetings Act. Second of all, she puts items in there that, one, if she can keep up with us, because it's very difficult at times to take minutes when we're having conversations. So she makes sure that the open meetings minutes laws are met, and they are. And then she forwards them to me. I add the line numbers in the footer, add it to the package that's emailed out. That's what was said before, and that's the same process it is now. So, you wanted to request how to review how minutes are being managed. So, what's your next thing?
My question of the clerk is, Ms. O'Clair, is that correct?
Mrs. O'Clair, please do not respond to the commissioners. They can direct their questions to me, as is protocol in community meetings and public meetings as this, over and over and time again. I'm not going to allow you to interrogate the employees. We're having an issue with that right now, so we're going to keep this under wraps.
I'm not interrogating Ms. O'Clair.
What's your next point?
I'm asking a question.
I'm telling you how they are.
which
I'm telling you how
requires
they
her
are.
to answer,
I'm-
as opposed to you providing an answer.
I'm telling you how the clerk does her job because we all approved her job. So what's your
we may have approved-
what's your next point, Ms.
We may have
Luciani?
approved hiring
What's your
her,
next point?
But I'm asking questions of how the minutes are prepared,
I-
and you won't allow her to answer the question.
I've told you how they're allowed.
No, you have not.
I just did.
I'm asking her to tell us.
That's
She's
the
one
way.
who presents the minutes.
That's the way it is. This isn't a court of law, Mr. Guziani.
Well,
Please.
Hopefully it would be, because then there'd be an impartial person presiding over it to require an answer. I'm not accusing of any wrongdoing. I'm asking
You've
how
got the-
Mr.
you've got the-
Chairperson,
You've
if
got
I
the
could,
answer. No,
I'm
you can't.
asking how the minutes
I repeat
are
myself.
prepared and
Can I
how...
interject, please?
I repeat myself. Ms. Oulette.
How were the minutes prepared when you were on the, your own board?
That's not the issue here.
I'm just wondering.
If I could get answers, I'd be happy to answer that
No,
question.
I'm wondering, how were your minutes
Yeah, I would
prepared?
be happy to answer that question if I could get answers to the question that I have here before this board that is now almost 2 years old.
We have had this conversation before.
No.
The clerk takes the minutes, she looks at the video, and adjusts the minutes.
You asked me last.
Period.
And I answered you.
How do you
That's
determine...
it. You don't need to speak. No.
Ms.
How do you
Cruciani.
determine what
Mr.
to put in the
Cruciani.
minutes?
Mr. Cruciani. Do not interrogate the clerk. I knew you were going to do that. That's why I said don't. Clerk, please don't respond to the commissioners.
Are you Phil, can I ask you a question? Are you questioning the judgment of the clerk to determine whether or not that particular statement is important?
Of course I am. How she
Okay,
makes that
all
determination.
right. So, to me, if a conversation is around one specific item, then those pieces of information would be included. There have been plenty of instances when we have talked with each other here that I would say I wouldn't put them in the minutes, because when I take my notes, I don't include them. I just state a conversation was held, because it's unnecessary to what would be considered a legal document. So I'm going to assume that in terms of defending or whatever, it's not an important statement. So verbatim, what I'm saying right now is really kind of boring. So I would not consider everything that I'm saying verbatim right now to be in the minutes. What I would expect to see is Commissioner Ouellette engaged in a conversation regarding how the clerk takes notes, because we don't need to hear my verbatim conversation because it's stupid. So
I don't...
we know how she takes it. I don't understand why you have to continue to badger us about this, because that's what it's coming down to. I don't have to sit here meeting after meeting wondering about whether or not you approve of the minutes. You have the video. You can sit and watch the video. Like I suggested last year, take your time. This is very important to you. It is not important to the rest of us. So to me, if it's important to you, take the time to do it the way you want it. Look at the video. Look at the minutes. Match them up. Bring it to us. And then we can talk about it. We repeat this. We have repeated this number of meetings. It's 8:15. We have accomplished 2 things. I'm sorry, am I taking your role?
No, I'm saving my voice. I just said it so many
I'm
times.
channeling you, Bruce, right now. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous.
There is a policy on this committee that's been on board for at least a couple of months. Officially, it's been my process and my suggestion since day one that if someone doesn't like anything about the minutes, they simply need to present what they want in the meeting minutes at that meeting in 7 copies so we can all read it, because when we vote on the minutes, we want to see what we're voting on, because we've all seen the minutes 4 or 5 days prior to the meeting. We've read the minutes. We've determined whether we agree with them or not. If somebody wants to make a change, present it in writing, let us review it, and we'll make the vote. If a vote is to include it, it gets attached, it's verbatim, it's in your own words, and there's no questions about it. I've asked and asked and asked and asked. That's the way it should be done. For example, you said you sent something to me on an email on April 12th, and now I have to go back to my emails. I don't have them on this computer, and I got to research now to see if I did get that document, and if I did get that document, what was on the document. If you simply bring to the meeting what you want included, because I'm not going to expect the district clerk to have your mindset onto what's important or not. To what you feel is important, I respect, and I want included in the minutes. I'm not going to have her come up with that have that responsibility to make that determination. What you feel is important, Mr. Cucciani, I respect, and I want it in the minutes. But that's the way it's got to be done. Put it in writing, bring it to the meeting, we will include it that night. That way we can see Ms. Cucciani's comments. These are added, we can attach it, and when the minutes go out for the website, they're right there. Is there any issue with that, Ms. Cucciani?
I'm going to respond.
Sure you are.
Thank you. You know, the thought process of what she includes and why she includes is extremely important. And I have to admit that I am troubled by the aspect, as I've repeated time and time again, of items not being included in the minutes. You have to listen to me. On March 1, I made a presentation. Now, I consider this to be extremely important. Evidently, most of the board members do not. I made a presentation with numbers of the salaries that the firefighters made in 2015. I didn't designate anyone by name. I just indicated the range of who was in the $60,000 range, who was in the $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000, and $110,000 range. Does that appear in the minutes? Isn't that an important point, a conversation that I was discussing?
Well, Ms. Cucciani, it's a very good question, and I will answer you, because I'm going to say right now, it is a very important part, because you just told us. In April, when we had the minutes, if you would have said to us in writing, these are very important comments, because obviously it wasn't included and she didn't feel it was important, and if in the April meeting you would have said, I said this information, I would like it included in the minutes, we would have included it. We wouldn't be sitting here tonight at 8:20.
Why did she not think it was important?
I don't know, but it's not going to be her responsibility. No, Ms. Cucciani, I'm telling you straight out, it's not her responsibility to read your mind.
It's not a question of reading my mind.
She doesn't know what's important to you, obviously.
Well, she includes all your comments, so why not include that comment? Not one iota of information is included.
Mr. Cucciani, I'll repeat. I'm not going to hold the clerk responsible to know what's important to you. I respect if you feel it's important, we will put it in the minutes. Just bring it to us and let us know. That was March 1st. We are now almost in August, and we're now just hearing about that.
I don't
And as
think-
I made the
I don't have
request-
those in my notes on March.
And as I made the request before, maybe a better way of handling this would be for the clerk, once she prepares the minutes, is to send them on out to all of us at the same time.
Because it's
If she
illegal.
does not-
It's illegal.
It's not illegal.
Oh, my God. The Madam Solicitor already made that ruling.
No, she didn't.
Oh, God.
Mr. Chairman, can we move, please, on to the next subject?
I owe this, Mr. Cucciani. He has to be put on the agenda.
We'll be here all night if this goes on.
Any other item, Mr. Cucciani, on how we manage the minutes, other than having the Madam Clerk sit back and verbatim off the minutes, of the video, which, by the way, on a 30-minute meeting would take about 5 hours. And if you haven't done it, I have. Because you got to start and stop and revisit. A 30-minute meeting will take 5 hours. And I'm not going to expect the Madam Clerk to spend, on a 30-minute meeting, 5 hours, on an hour meeting, 10 hours. That's ridiculous. That's why the next the next resolution is going to come up to we're done with this stuff. Because the court stenographer will take care of that. Do you have any other comments about how the minutes are being managed?
I'm unable to get answers to my questions.
What questions have not been
I just
answered?
raised them, you won't answer. So
What is it? Tell me again.
I'm not going to tell you a third time.
Okay.
This is unreal.
Yeah, Mr. Cucciani, you can't even tell me the question. I'm telling you I didn't hear it. If I didn't answer it, give me the opportunity to answer it. What is it, Ms. Cucciani?
I'm just going to repeat the same request of how the minutes are arranged. If
Okay.
Say it again, Ms. Cucciani. What is the question? You said you asked a question twice, I didn't answer it. I apologize, I wasn't listening. I will do a better job. Please tell me the question again.
I was questioning of how the minutes are prepared. You won't allow her to answer the question, so I can't get a sense from her as to how she feels what is important.
Oh, my God.
I don't think that I should have to
John,
say
to you.
at a meeting, this is important. I just gave you an example that you agreed is important, but is not in the minutes. And if the minutes had been prepared, with that included, we would not be here.
Right.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, before I forget the question, can I answer it? You asked me a question, I got it in my head now, now you continue on something else, so let me answer the question. The minutes are prepared where the clerk takes on paper notes as we go on. She does her best to try to include all the information she can. She does, however, make sure that all the Open Meeting Act requirements are met. She then, when they're available, and only the last 4 or 5 meetings have been available, she will scan through to make sure her motions and seconds and whatnot and the votes are accurate, and then she will present them. She does not have the ability to know what's important, whether you can, let me finish, Ms. Kuziani, whether you agree or not, your question to her is, what's the favorite word we have here? What methodology does the clerk use to determine what goes in the minutes or not? I'm not going to have a set of standards applied because it's an impossibility. If you think that a district clerk should have the methodology in place to determine what Mr. Cucciani feels is important, that's an impossible task, period, and that's for the record. Now, if you feel they're important and you tell us they're important, I will agree with you 100% that they are important. That's what I meant to say tonight, and I did say that. I didn't know much first comments were important until tonight, because you said they were important. And in April, if you would have presented them with the minutes, here is some comments I want added, no problem, you said them, everybody knows it, we all approve it, and then we move on. That's how you get your important comments in if the clerk does not add them in. Is that a clear enough answer?
I think all comments are important made by commission members.
So she should sit there and verbatim.
No, I'm not saying that.
If they're
There
all
are summaries, but you have to indicate the information that is being
it
provided.
just gets deeper. He just buries himself. So
I'm not burying myself.
So the March 1st meeting was not videotaped, so you are not going to get satisfaction.
but if he would have presented his comments to us in writing in the April meeting, we would have put it into those minutes, without a doubt, because we would have known at that point those comments were important. Now, anything else, Mr. Cucciani?
Disagree with that statement. They would have been included without a doubt. Thank you.
Okay. You can actually prove something that didn't happen, wouldn't have happened. That is awesome.
I didn't say that. You did.
Okay.
So, the next item is a request from Commissioner Champagne to hire a court stenographer. Everybody has a resolution, and embedded within the resolution is a breakdown of the bids received by the finance director. She requested 3 companies to bid on it. One, I'll be honest with you, laughed and said no bid. And the others, well, you can see the results. The less expensive one is about $7,000 on estimate. That's an estimate per year to have a court stenographer sit there, and then we'll have all the comments by all the commissioners that are very important in the record. Mr. Champagne, I respect that you asked this to be researched and presented. Thus, it was done. I don't believe, well, you can make a motion to approve just to get it on the table, I guess, or you can let it sit there until somebody makes a motion. That would be your choice, Mr. Champagne.
Mr. Chairman, I'll, even though I'm not in favor, but I'll make a motion so we can discuss it.
Thank you, Mr. Champagne. Seconded by Commissioner Roulette.
I didn't hear what you said. I apologize.
He said that Mr. Champagne makes a motion to approve the resolution so we can get it on the table for discussion. Seconded by Commissioner Roulette. comments on the motion?
Absolutely not will we hire a stenographer. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Champagne.
I concur with Commissioner Ouellette. The reason I put it out there is to research and see what the price is to probably satisfy Mr. Cucciani because he wants verbatim. And this is not going to stop. It's not going to stop tonight. Next month we're going to be here doing the same thing. Very soon we'll be bringing our pajamas with us about these minutes. So are we going to continue? And I see no problems with the system that we have right now. It's just that Mr. Cucciani will never be satisfied. And the question is, does the board want to hire a stenographer? I don't, but we needed to put it out there once and for all.
Mr. Chairman, if I may respond.
Sure, Mr. Cucciani.
I think even at the last meeting that we had, I told you I was not in favor of a court stenographer. Totally unnecessary now that we have a video. The issue still remains as to what appears on the minutes, which is an historical record. So we have to go through a methodology of understanding, do I have to say each and every time I speak, or you speak, or Mr. Marta speaks, that we say that's important? I'm not trying to cast any disrespect. I think it's evident of what is important to the person who is saying it. I wouldn't have brought up those issues but for the fact that I thought that they were important, and not to be included leaves me wondering.
Mr. Cucciani, do you want everything you say included verbatim?
No.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. How is the Madam Clerk supposed to differentiate and know, besides reading your mind, what's important and not?
She doesn't have to read our minds.
So then how is she supposed to differentiate?
If I could, I've already given you one suggestion. You claim that it can't be done.
All you're doing is having her go back and look at the video, and then she's still at that point where she has to determine, she's reliving it, but what doesn't change is that she doesn't know what's important or not. She's going to sit here in the meeting and not know what's important or not. So you're asking her to go look at the video. Well, she'll sit there and watch the video again, and then she'll realize, I don't know if it's important or not. The only certain way for it to be included, because you feel it's important, is one, we hire a stenographer, or two, you simply bring comments that you want to be sure that are in the minutes to the next meeting, and they will be included. There's no issue with that.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. I know you appreciate those comments, but you don't agree with them. Now, as far as the stenographer goes, I don't think we need one because we don't have a problem with the minutes. And this,
I don't think we need one, but we do have a problem with the minutes. Thank you.
this is a review of the minutes since November 2014. Could you please let Mrs. Cullen have that if you guys can share this?
I think you just gave me one.
Huh?
I think you just gave me one, or did you take it back?
I don't know.
No, you gave me one. I got it.
This is a summary of minutes, and this falls under discussion. Madam Clerk, I'll give these to you in writing so you can just read to the minutes, okay? Summary of the minutes from 11/13/2014 to 6/28/2016. There are 30 sets of minutes. These are regular meeting minutes only. They are not minutes for every other subcommittee meeting or meetings of just one item where it was an easy approval. These are regular meeting minutes. So there are 30 sets of meetings. Of those 30, 16 sets of minutes were flat out just approved. No comment, no nothing. 7-0, 6-0, 7-0, all unanimously approved. That's 53% of our minutes have no issues. So it's not every single set of minutes. Next category, there was an issue. It was tabled. It was reviewed. It came back. The minutes, there were two of these. The minutes were, again, voted unanimously. So there was issues, it was tabled, it was brought back, and it was re-voted on at another meeting. The changes were done, or whatever it may be, and they were unanimously approved. The next category, there were issues. They were fixed immediately and then approved. Again, unanimously. There's 4 of those. That first category represents 22 sets of meetings that were voted on unanimously, approved by Mr. Cucciani. Even one set of minutes, he made the second to pass after it was tabled. That's 73% of our meeting minutes have been unanimously approved, including by Mr. Cucciani himself. So now we're down to 8 sets of minutes. Of those 8, by the way, 4 are from last month, the May 19th, 24th, 26th, and the 8th. Those meeting minutes, 4 of the 8 were voted 5-2. That category is called issues and tabled or reviewed where it was voted no, but they passed anyway. That's 27% of the minutes. And if you want to take off the 4 from last month, it's even less. Mr. Cucciani, in this document that you have that I released to the press, I have snapshots from the minutes. They're very well laid out. It's very easy to follow. I have the minutes where you said you don't like it. I have the corrections, and then I have the motions, and I have the votes. All recorded here, very easy. There's 5 pages. If you have any questions and you would like to meet with me, I will meet with you at headquarters as soon as the solicitor gets back from vacation, and I'll be happy to go over these. All these minutes are available online to the full town if they want to look at them themselves. This will be part of the minutes so the town can look at it. I got nothing to hide. These minutes meet open meetings, unlike minutes from past districts. We're totally illegal. And because we're a fire district, doesn't release us from the open meetings. I went back and looked at other minutes. Maybe we were doing something wrong. Maybe North Cumberland did something better than we did. No, he didn't want to talk about that. I have minutes here presented by him. Last month I said I made up some minutes myself, and he kind of giggled like that was wrong. Well, I got minutes here that he prepared. I have minutes from North Cumberland talking about contracts. No discussion put down whatsoever. The contract was put on the table. It was voted on and approved. No comments in the minutes. There are very little comments in any of the minutes from North Cumberland while he was chairman. I don't know what different standard we have, except we live by the Open Meetings Act. It's a very specific document, and Mr. Cucciani, you have all our documents here. Please forward these to the Attorney General with a complaint if you so desire, because you only have 8 minutes to look at that you voted no on. The rest of them, you approved yourself on the record. So I don't know how you can say every time there's a problem. The March 1st meeting minutes, you approved. I can't argue with the man who says there's always a problem and you repeatedly bring things up, but yet you repeatedly approve them. I don't think a stenographer is needed either, because we don't have a problem with our minutes. If you don't like something, if you don't agree with something, it doesn't make that item wrong. It simply means you don't agree with it. Mr. Cucciani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, in comments to your comments, certainly the first meetings that we're having as a board, I think there was a little discussion of disagreement in regards to the minutes. Certainly the disagreements in regards to the tenure of the minutes, how they're prepared, and what they say has certainly grown, and for good reason. I find them not accurate. I know you don't want to hear that, but I find them not accurate. In regards to just your last statement here, that the March 1 meeting was approved and even included me, that's incorrect. I did not approve the March 1 minutes. In regards to the performance of the North Cumberland Fire District, there were a couple of times when our clerk was not available, and so minutes had to be kept. And I think it happened once, maybe twice, I can't be specific, and I do recall that I prepared the minutes. And also when I prepared the minutes and sent them on out to review, I sent them on out to every committee member for their review. And the minutes were under my name. We have some minutes that have been prepared during the tenure of this fire committee in which there's no indication of who prepared the minutes. But going back to North Cumberland, yes, I did it. My name is there. I agree.
Ms. Cusiani, I apologize, you didn't approve March 1st, but that still leaves us only 4 sets of minutes, other than the last 4.
Did not approve.
I just said that.
Okay.
I apologize, you did not approve March 1, but that still only leaves 4 sets of minutes, other than the last 4 that you've, with 3 of them were simply open meeting act minutes. You certainly disagreed with the voted no on a protest. You have 4 sets of meetings in here that you voted no on, and I repeat myself again, if you don't agree with something, it doesn't make it wrong. It means you don't agree with it. If I don't agree with you, it doesn't make you wrong, unless I can factually, like this, prove you wrong. We don't have a problem with our minutes. 73% of the minutes are unanimously approved. 27% are reviewed. There's documentation of the review. You voted no. The rest of the board voted yes. That doesn't make the rest of us 5 or 4, whoever voted yes, wrong. It means you don't agree with it. I still have not heard one item from you, Mr. Cusiani, and this I'm going to make an issue of. At the 146 mark of last month's meeting, Mr. Cusiani, you said on a number of occasions some of the important points I have tried to bring to the board's attention are not stated. They are inaccurate. They have been modified. That's a very serious charge that you have not proven tonight. We have never taken a set of meeting minutes after they've been approved and modified them. That is not, maybe you didn't realize what you were saying, but to say that we took an approved set of minutes and modified them is a disrespect to this committee and to the district clerk and to the solicitor, and that is wrong. We taken a set of minutes, and you didn't bring it tonight to show what we did and where we modified the minutes after they've been approved. Any other comments on the motion, on the resolution on the floor to hire a $7,000 stenographer so we can get the verbs verbatim? Any comments? Hearing none, pleasure of the board. All those in favor? No. All those in favor? All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Fails 6-0. Thank goodness. Mr. Cusiani, you are more than welcome to review. Well, you approved last month's meeting, so I'm sure they're okay, right? You approved last month's meeting, but if I remember correctly at the beginning of the meeting, you approved June 28th minutes? You didn't approve June 28th minutes? Oh.
Wait.
What was the vote? What was the vote on the consent agenda? 6-0. You approved them. Keep up with this. It was 4-2? They didn't approve them? What was wrong with them, Ms. Cusiani? What was wrong with them? What was wrong with them, Ms. Cusiani? Are you going to bring the corrections in next month? Or are you going to wait 6 months? What's wrong with them then?
You know, you're doing the same thing. You go around and around and you say the same thing. You're trying to say because the minutes say this, that they are correct. And we have a disagreement, and we will have a disagreement.
Yeah.
And I continue to disagree with it.
Are you going to bring in what issues that are wrong that cause you to vote no?
Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Champagne, second by Commissioner Amata. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, public comment.
Those who would like to stay, we would take public comment.
Yes.
If we can keep the cameras rolling, please. First.
Now everybody knows my name, but I'm going to say it again. Greg Dicamitas, 44 DeSoto Street. Again, another meeting of bickering and arguing about minutes. Over an hour about minutes. And then about a $7,000 stenographer. This town deserves better, and it's not getting it. There's 2 gentlemen in the audience right now that I haven't seen attend meetings before because I'm usually by myself. But I'll tell you one thing right now. They're both running for this board. There's 2 of them. There should be 3, and I'm seriously considering it. There's a lot more important things to do in this town and by this board than to argue about minutes. There's tape recorders that I've seen at meetings. There's a videotape and there's a clerk. Is it really necessary to continue this argument every meeting? I don't think so, Mr. Chairman.
The only thing that we have to do, sir, is to answer any allegations brought against this commission. If there was no allegations, I would have let him set his piece and move on. But when you make allegations against us, I can't let him stand. But I agree with you 100%.
I'm making the allegation that this board has more important things to do
Can't agree with you more.
than to argue about minutes.
I agree.
And I don't think I'm out of order on that one.
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Paul, do you have a comment you want to make? You got to come to the board. You got to come to the mic. State your name and address.
Hello, my name is Paul Pereira. I've only been part of this community for about 10 years. A friend had asked me to come through and run for the fire district, said that we needed some help on it, and I could see why. I definitely can see why now. I mean, I definitely echo the sentiment that, that gentleman had mentioned. If you clearly want something put in writing, mention it and say, please place this in writing in the minutes. It's very, very easy. I mean, the minutes are an overlap of what happens in the meeting. It's just a discussion, just what you have in the overview. It always has been since Parliament was even created. I mean, it's simple. As far as what I've seen here, it's very disheartening. That's pretty much what I have to say.
Thank you, Paul. Since we're open for public comment, we have 2 other candidates here, Paul Santoro at large and Dana Jones for District 4. If you guys want to say anything, feel free. If not, I'll pass.
Paul Santoro, 33 Scarborough Road, Cumberland. Part of why I ran, I am running for 2, so I'm doing my best I can. I hope to do the best I can to get things done for this town. I've watched the meetings at home, and I watched them all, and I saw the dysfunction. There are generally accepted procedures for many fields, including, of course, the clerks. She's doing a great job. Stop bickering, grow up, move on. The people of Cumberland have a fire district run by a fantastic chief with fantastic firefighters, with the board, who I've seen work very, very hard. I've seen every episode. They deserve a lot of credit. They do not deserve to be picked on and bickered and have minutia take an hour. The time is worth money. $7,000 for a stenographer can be used better off by this chief to provide safety for me and my family, not on personal vendettas. This is why I'm running for office. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Paul.
Chairman, thank you for the time. Okay. Great job, Chairman. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. No other public input. We have a motion and a second. I'll just say we take the vote. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Scutiani.